In this video, we're looking at zero and negative indices. So the first thing we're going to focus on is the zero index. Now remember, index is just the mathematical term for power. So you might see a couple of different wordings in indices, index, powers, power, things like that. So the zero index is where the power is zero. So anything to the power of zero is 1. Now I want to repeat that. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So if you have a look at our example there, x to the power of 0 equals 1. Now it's important to note any brackets involved in the expression, because this may alter how you answer the question. And I'm going to cover that in some of the examples. So the first example we're going to look at is our 4x to the power of 0. Alright, so 4x to the power of 0. So it's to look at this, the first thing I would do is rewrite this a little differently. You don't have to do this, but for this example, I'm just going to do it. Alright, so that's kind of what we're looking at. 4 times x to the power of 0. Now, 4 is going to stay the same, and then we have x to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So 4 times 1, and the answer is 4. So it's important to note there that there was no brackets involved in our expression up here. Alright. Hence, it came out as 4 times x to the power of 0, 4 times 1. Only the x was to the power of 0, not the 4. So if we have a look at our next one here, we have brackets, and then inside the brackets we have 4a squared, b to the power of 4, c. And then all of that to the power of 0. Now, because there's brackets, what that is telling us is that everything inside the brackets is to the power of 0. So what that means is since it's anything to the power of 0 is 1, this equals 1. Alright, so it's important to note when there's brackets involved and everything is inside the brackets, your answer will be 1 in this case. So the next thing we're going to look at is our negative indices. So a negative index can be changed into a positive index by turning it into a fraction. And you could do the same way. If you have a fraction where it's 1 over x to the power of n or something, you can do the opposite. So, in this example, x to the power of negative n equals 1 over x to the power of n. So how I kind of my trick to remembering this is that, see how we have this negative sign here? I almost imagine that this is where it goes here. That negative becomes that there. Alright, kind of try to make it a little bit easier on myself. So our first example here is x to the power of negative 2. So x to the power of negative 2. Now remember, we're going to convert that into its fraction form, a positive index. So it's 1 on top over x to the power of 2. Now, again, my trick would have been that this here is this here. Okay? So we're going to look at another example here. 4x in brackets to the power of negative 4. Now notice this time there's brackets involved again. Now in the same way we had our to the power of zeros, same way works here. Because the negative 4 is outside the brackets, it's meaning that everything inside that 4x is all to the power of negative 4. So how this ends up being is 1 over bracket 4x to the power of 4. Just like that. Now next example, 6x to the negative 3. Now this is the same as having 6 times x to the negative 3. So only the x has a negative index, so 6 times 1 over x to the 3, or 6 over x to the 3. Now, these steps here are not necessarily needed. It's just a way of showing you how to get to your final answer. If you do look at this, you're like, at our main question, you can look at it and go, oh, x is to the negative 3, there's no brackets, so the x to the power of 3 is on the bottom, so I know it's going to go straight to 6 over x to the 3.